He departed after all the temptation. He departed for a while, for a time. That line, that last phrase, for a time, has always bothered me. The temptation of the devil, it's like it seems so permanent. But the truth is that the devil or the evil one or Satan, whatever name you want to give that dark force, is true for not only for Christ, but it's true for all of us. That same devil is trying to tempt us in the same way. As we mirror Jesus' 40 days in the desert by our 40 days in Lent, we are subject to the same temptations time and time again. And these are the three ancient temptations of the devil. And they occur for us. It may not be in the desert the way Jesus was, but the same thing is what you are what you do. You are what you have, and you are what other people say you are. Let's walk through them and what Jesus does. He says, first of all, there's this key phrase that lines us up these. He says, if you are the Son of God, and then comes the temptation. So if you are the Son of God, turn this stone into bread. He doesn't offer him bread. He says, you are what you do. You're powerful. Do what I ask you to do, and then you're mine. Isn't that true for all of us? How easily we get tempted by what we do. What do you do? First question almost out of our mouths when we ask and we greet one another. Oh, I'm an executive vice president of sales and marketing. Oh, really? Oh, I'm CEO. Oh, I'm a janitor. Oh, that all? And we measure by what we do, as if that defines us. You see, these are three temptations of identity, false identity, trying to challenge him to who we are. The second temptation brings him up to Jerusalem and shows him all the kingdoms, and he says, look, you will have all these kingdoms if you just worship me, because they've been given to me. And so if you do that then, and he says, nope, you are what you have. He knows who he is, and he knows who he is. He is the Son of God. That was the truth. And he belongs to God. And isn't it true also in our own lives that we are being tempted time and time again by what we have? Don't we find this almost all the time? This is our constant struggle, that we get tempted. Oh, you need a bigger house. Oh, you need a nicer car. Or you need the latest iPhone. Or this or that. And we keep on going and keep on going, somehow thinking that we are defined, that our identity is what we have, and that is a lie. It's a famous ancient lie of the devil. As we are not what we have. We are the sons and daughters of God. That is our true identity. And Jesus leads the way. And then the third one, he brings him up to the parapet of the temple. And he says, throw yourself down here and I'll make you glorious. You are what other people say you are. Well, aren't we in an age of that? My Lord, the whole of social media is built upon likes. How many friends do you have? Oh yeah, I have 5,000 friends. How many do you have? I don't have 5,000. I don't know how many I have, truth be told. I don't use it because I know what that does to us. We constantly spending our time measuring ourselves up by what other people say we are. See, what the Lord is saying to us at the beginning of this lesson, we're called to remember who we are. We are daughters and sons of God the Father. That's our true identity. That's our true identity. And whose we are God the Father. That's whose we belong to. And the question is then, how do we manage to fight these temptations? Well, we look to what Jesus does. Jesus makes this really simple. These aren't really temptations for him at all. Well, I mean, they're temptations, but he doesn't blink at them. Why? Because he knows exactly who he is. He knows his identity. He is not in any way deviates from that because he knows he's the Son of God. And that's his Father. Now, let me give you just a quick example of this. Like, let's say I took one of the children here and I placed his mother right beside him and then another woman over here. And let's say his name is Johnny. And the mother calls Johnny, Johnny, come here. The child's going to come. If the other woman over this side says, Johnny, come on over here. Do you think he's going to be tempted to go to the other woman as a mother? That's a real question, by the way. No, he's not. He's not going to be tempted. Oh, well, who will I pick as my mother today? Oh, well, I kind of like her. I like that. There's no temptation. There's no real temptation because he knows who his mother is. He knows the sound of his mother's voice. He knows exactly what his mother is. And he knows that if he doesn't do what his mother says, he's going to get a clip. So he knows more than like how it's a complete package. But he's very clear about who he knows he is. Right? So he's not tempted. So if another woman or 5 other women come and say, oh, come here, I'm your mother. There's no temptation because he knows who he is. Do you see how that's what we've got to do. This is what our call in Lent is all about. Is to shed all those other voices and remember who we are and whose we are. We are the child of God. That's our true identity. Now the challenge is that we all know that inside our head. I mean, we get that when we're all coming to church here. But when we all walk out of here, all of a sudden those temptations start coming again. And we start looking, and then all of a sudden we get tempted by what other people say about us. We're tempted to get absorbed in what we get so that we have more. Or we get tempted by in fact, what we do. Now, the church gives us a protocol, if you would, or a way in which to pull all that back every Lent. And we do it once a year to reset ourselves on the path, to recapture our identity, to own that identity again for the whole year ahead. And it's called Lent. And we have this prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And it works. It's worked for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that's why we do it every year, is to remind ourselves who we are and whose we are. Now, here's the interesting thing, is it's only recently we have actually a little bit of data science about some of this behavior shifting. And it's actually pretty powerful. I'll be doing this in the retreat, but there's an author and science, a professor at Stanford called B.J. Fogg. He wrote a book called Tiny Habits. And he explains how our behavior works. To understand, to change your behavior, you've got to understand how your behavior comes about. So if you want to change your behavior, right, you've got to know what it is that you do and why. And if you're really interested in changing your behavior, it's all about identity. That the easiest thing to do is if you decide to do something, then you know how to change it. So the example goes like this. The example is given, and this comes also in another book called Atomic Habits. But it works like this. That if you take 10 people and you offer them a cigarette, 8 of those people will refuse. 2 will try it. 1 will like it, and 1 will like it, go, and they'll never smoke again. So 1 out of 10 might be tempted to smoke a cigarette. Right? Now that's the science. That's been experiment done over and over again. Now, why do the 8 say immediately no? You know what they say? Every one of them, all 8 say what? No, I don't smoke. You see, it's an identity. There's no temptation. There's no exercise of the will. They're not a better person. They just know who they are. They know that they're not a smoker. My friends, that's how we refocus in Lent. It's not about a will. It's not us trying to will ourselves back and pushing away the devil in some dramatic fashion. Just come back to who we are. Come back to the fact that we are a child of God and that God is our Father. Then no temptation. It's not an exercise of our will. We don't have to make any effort. It won't be a temptation to get consumed in buying more or doing more or waiting for more likes. Why? Because in our heart, we know exactly who we are. We're a child of God. And nothing will take us away from the Father's voice. We know it, and he knows us. My friends, that's what we're doing in this Lent for this next 40 days. So let's commit to it. Let's remember who we are and whose we are. We are the sons and daughters of God. He is our Father.